So Benoit Saint Denis just lost the fight to Renato Moicano in unbelievable fashion. Just when you thought he was about to turn things around and start winning, unfortunately, the doctors in Paris, they stopped the fight, and Renato Moicano is your winner. And I'm going to break down the entire card. I'm going to break down the full card for UFC Paris. Benoit Saint Denis, you know what? Let's just be honest. He was about to win that fight. All right? He was about to at least maybe turn things around in the third, but he wasn't given the chance, all right? And Renato Moicano, on the other hand, you got to give him credit. You got to give Renato Moicano credit. Unbelievable speech after. You know, Renato's growing on me. Fuck! Benoit Saint Denis, he ain't as good as we thought. When I say we, I mean me. I think at this point, it's fair enough to say that Benoit Saint Denis may be a bit of an aura merchant. Okay? But let's actually seriously get into this. We are going to break down the main event first. Let's just talk about the stoppage. Okay? Let's talk about the fight overall. Benoit Saint Denis is like the new Yuri Prohaska, man. He's taken a lot of damage at this point. He's taken a lot of damage. I don't know if that's so good for him. Fuck. Dude, I'm coping big time, man. Like, I don't even know how to really react right now. Benoit Saint Denis, all right, let's start this over, all right? Renato Moicano takes Benoit down. I'm thinking, he's going to stink it up for the rest of the round like he did in front of Drew Dober. But Drew Dober apparently is a lot better with his defense, his ground and pound defense, his submission defense than Benoit Saint Denis. Benoit Saint Denis, judo black belt, sweeping Matt Frivola. We saw what Matt Frivola was doing tonight. Before he ate the canvas, Matt Frivola was taking down Twigman Ziam. But Benoit Saint Denis, you know, the king of France in regards to his grappling, some people call him, just can't deal with Renato Moicano. And when I say he's like the Yuri Prohaska is one of those guys where if Yuri gets hurt in the cage, he's going to have a limb dangling off. You know, if Yuri gets injured in training camp, it's going to be the most gruesome shoulder injury there's ever been. Yuri Prohaska doesn't just get, banged up, touched. He gets absolutely severed. All right, Yuri Prohaska gets severed when he gets injured. Benoit Saint Denis is similar, bro. I don't know what it is. I wish he had, the Cheeto Vera level of durability because, he wasn't getting almost knocked out, but he was taking some punishment. But like, goodness gracious, have you ever seen someone's face look that fucked up after the first round of a little bit of ground and pound? Benoit Saint Denis looked like he had just been in a 5-round war after one round. And yeah, there were some pretty freaking gnarly shots, but dude, I was getting fucking nervous watching the first round. I'm like, bro, they're going to stop this. Benoit Saint Denis is going to get absolutely crushed in the first. Second round, Benoit Saint Denis' face looks totally fucked up. He comes out, he looks slow as hell. Benoit striking, man, it needs a lot of work. He's slow. He seems like he just throws the same left hand over and over again, and he leaves one side of his face open, similar to Jamal Hill. That was Jamal Hill's problem going into the Pereira fight. Benoit Saint Denis, his defense is still not all that. His speed, I said he looked slow in the Dustin Poirier fight. It's still not all that. Renato Moicano, I was kind of right. He is a little bit slow on the feet. He's not as good as he used to be on the feet because if you got a guy like Benoit Saint Denis in front of you who's not able to see out of one eye, whose face looks the way it looked, fair enough. It looked like he was taking the second round off, but, Benoit Saint Denis literally won that round based on damage. If you have Benoit Saint Denis winning a round off of you with the way that he's looking, with the fucking slow strikes that he's got and the lack of defense, with his ability to see, if he's winning a round off of you, it's not a great look. Benoit Saint Denis was given the second round. Doctor comes in, stops the fight. I honestly of course I was upset because I wanted Benoit Saint Denis to win. I understand the stoppage, but, he could see out of one eye. Let's give it another round, okay? Let's wait until he can't see out of either eye. Then it's time to stop it. If you can still see out of one eye, look at Michael Bisping. He won a belt with one eye, and we're stopping this fight with Benoit Saint Denis in France. Listen. He stuffed 3 takedowns in the second round. Let's not just sit here and act like Renato Moicano went out there and annihilated Benoit Saint Denis after the first. He did in the first round. This was a weird win. He beat him up badly. He damaged his face a lot. And fair enough. I understand doctor stoppages, but listen, Benoit was stuffing takedowns in the second. The strength came in clutch in the second. He outstruck Renato Moicano despite looking horrible in the second. Who knows what would have happened in the third? Probably Renato Moicano just was being patient, waiting for the right moment, finds the right moment, gets him down again, and finishes him. We don't know. Renato Moicano was the better man tonight. But you got to say that just knowing that it was a weird one. You know what I mean? Now, let's be fucking honest right now. Benoit Saint Denis, his striking is not where it needs to be to compete at the highest level. His grappling defense, we found out what was what tonight. Sure, you can sweep Matt Frevola, but when you're in front of someone like Renato Moicano, who's as good as he is on the ground, how are you going to be doing in front of Islam Makhachev, Arman Tsarukyan? I mean, Arman Tsarukyan's ground and pound is vicious as well. So Benoit Saint Denis, I do not think he's going to be able to compete in the top 10 right now. I don't think his striking is there if he's taking on the top strikers. He could take them down and beat them up, fair enough, but the well-rounded fighters that are at least okay on the feet, good on the ground, I think it's safe to say that he was pushed a little bit too fast against Dustin Poirier. Because now, instead of just losing to Renato Moicano, he's coming off of 2 bad losses, tons of damage. But I don't think it's over for him. We know he's got the mentality. We know that he's dangerous. We know he's got good offensive grappling. But he's obviously still green in the sport. I think he obviously needs to work on that striking. It's just not there right now. And the defensive grappling. But I don't think it's over for Benoit. I think that this is a guy that can come back. And I think he's someone that could climb the rankings in the future. I mean, he's 28 years old. Renato Moicano, what was he doing at 28, 30 years old? He certainly wasn't in the top 5. And he certainly, even a couple years ago, wasn't where he is today. 35 years old. He's been finished. He's been knocked out. He's taken a lot of damage. He's, had the years where he was outside of the rankings for a long time. He's had moments where, he's getting close to the top 10 and he gets knocked out against TKZ a couple years ago. He's taken a step up against Fiziev, gets knocked out. And now he's climbing the ranks and he's getting close to a title shot. Renato Moicano is the best he's ever been. I mean, say what you want, Benoit Saint Denis' grappling defense is not that great, but he's still a good grappler. He still is a judo black belt, and he still is insanely dangerous. And Renato Moicano, good fight IQ, takes him down, beats the shit out of him, nasty ground and pound, just all over Benoit Saint Denis with the back take. Ground and pound was next level. It's kind of crazy how he wasn't able to mount off any crazy damage against Drew Dober, but fair enough, when he fought Drew Dober, he had been coming off of a long layoff. So Renato Moicano, I mean, how many wins is this in a row? He beat Drew Dober. He beat Jalen Turner. He beat Benoit Saint Denis. This is I think the 3rd in a row, the 4th in a row, 5th in a row. He's on a crazy streak. He was out of the cage for a while. I mean, I know Benoit Saint Denis isn't ranked that highly, but listen, Islam Makhachev, he's probably fighting Arman Tsarukyan next. We've seen DP. We've seen Justin Gaethje. All right, we know Charles Oliveira and Michael Chandler are fighting. I say Renato Moicano fights the winner of that, and whoever wins that fight gets a title fight. Even if Islam Makhachev moves up to lightweight if he beats Arman Tsarukyan. I think Moicano, he's done enough. He's becoming a fan favorite. I mean, I'm becoming a bigger fan of him every single time he fights. I think Renato Moicano is 1 win away from a title fight. And 35 years old, he could literally become the first ever over 35-year-old champion in the lighter weight classes. So really amazing win for Renato Moicano. Again, it was weird, a little bit weird, because it's like you win a fight and there's a stoppage, but, the guy that loses literally won the final round, which is just weird. There's no other way about it. You can't say that that's not a weird thing. Benoit Saint Denis wins the 2nd round, gets TKO'd in the corner? How does that even make any sense? I understand his eye was fucked. I get it. He looked terrible. He could barely see out of one eye, but the doctor was putting up the 3 fingers, the 4 fingers, and Benoit Saint Denis was making good reads on it. Right? I'd say give him 1 more round. But either way, Renato Moicano, it looked like he was taking a round off, but he was shooting takedowns too. It's not like he was just taking the whole round off. He was shooting takedowns. Listen, I'm coping, but I'm not here to bullshit around and just sit here and say, well, that's not a great win. Listen, Renato Moicano beat the fuck out of Benoit Saint Denis, damaged his face, okay? Brutalized him in one round. I mean, that's a lot of scar tissue for Benoit Saint Denis this early on in his career. I mean, that happened pretty easily. I know that, Moicano's very dangerous on the ground, but we usually don't see him messing people up like that, right? The shots that he was hitting Jalen Turner with when he finished him were nowhere near as powerful as the shots he was hitting Benoit Saint Denis with. Just insanely good grappling. The striking for Renato Moicano, again, let's just be honest about this. You're going tit for tat with a blind as a bat, pill as a ghost Benoit Saint Denis. When I say pill as a ghost, it wasn't because of the staff. It was because he was blind as a bat going into the second round. So you can't really fault Benoit Saint Denis for not being able to see. He went into that fight with a bad eye. Now, of course, he went into that fight meaning the second round with a bad eye, but listen, I think that Renato Moicano, his grappling, he's like, he's like the lightweight Glover Teixeira at this point. 35 years old, that's basically the equivalent to being 38 at light heavyweight. 40, basically. Renato Moicano, his grappling is next level, and he's got a good fight IQ. Went out there and posed his will right away. One more win, and I think he fights for a belt. And you know what? This guy's hungry. If he fights Charles Oliveira, I'm probably picking him to beat Charles Oliveira. If he fights Michael Chandler, I'm probably picking him to beat Michael Chandler. I don't know who else he's going to fight. I know people are talking about Dustin Poirier, Justin Gaethje. I don't want to see it. We've seen it too many times. Let's do maybe Dustin Poirier versus Renato Moicano, but they trained together, so I don't know if that's going to happen. But listen, it was a good fight. I was pissed off while watching the first round just because, again, I thought Benoit was going to go out there, have a war early on. We were going to see some striking. Instead, it was just one-way traffic. Renato Moicano destroying Benoit Saint Denis. The second round, it was weird. It looked like Benoit Saint Denis was finding his groove a little bit, but it wasn't enough of a groove to where, okay, he started to turn the tide. It felt very even, and it felt like it's just a moment. It's a matter of time before the damage is too much to where the doctor's going to stop it anyway. Renato Moicano, 5 or 6 solid jabs per round. Eventually there's going to be a doctor stoppage. So I don't have a big issue with the stoppage. Again, it is a little bit weird. We're not just going to sit here and act like Renato Moicano TKO'd Benoit Saint Denis. I know it was a doctor stoppage. We're not going to sit here and say it was a TKO. Okay? The first round, it got very close, but we're not going to sit here and do that. But again, 35 years old, Renato Moicano, the best he's ever been. He's way better today than he was when he was fighting TKZ back in 2019, 2018, whenever that was. Getting knocked out in a main event. Now look at Benoit Saint Denis, 28 years old. We know this dude's dangerous. He was running through people, but as soon as he gets into the rankings, Dustin Poirier, now Renato Moicano, who I think that all of us would agree is top 10 level. It's a little bit too soon. But I do think Benoit Saint Denis, the scar tissue is kind of crazy at this point. I mean, that's a lot of damage. I still think that he could be top 10 and, be like a consistent top 10 fighter. Do I think he's going to be champ? I don't know. Probably not. But yeah, or a merchant at this point. I think it's safe to say. I think I was maybe a little bit wrong in Benoit Saint Denis. Because I think, again, his striking, it still looks unbelievably slow. And this is without staff. The striking defense, maybe it improved a tiny bit, but he's still easy to hit. And he leaves his hand down after he throws his left hand. His grappling offensively is great, but against Renato Moicano, listen, look at what happened to Brendan Allen. Brendan Allen's a great grappler. He got out-grappled by Nasruddin Imavov in the second round and beat up. So Benoit Saint Denis is still a great grappler. It's just, Renato Moicano is a better grappler. But again, let's not forget Benoit started training in 2018, 2019. He's still relatively new to MMA. I don't think this is it for him. I'm not just going to say, he's totally done. But am I going to pick him against a Justin Gaethje? Yeah, probably. He probably takes him down and subs him. Am I going to pick him against DP? Probably not. But, a little bit disappointing. I wanted to see a good old-fashioned slugfest on the feet. Second round was anything but a slugfest. It was like a tit-for-tat battle. Benoit Saint Denis barely able to see. Renato Moicano very patient and, shooting takedowns, getting them stuffed. Benoit said he started slow and went into that fight half asleep. but that's not an excuse because, come on, what are you doing? You're in a main event in your own country, and you're talking about starting a fight half asleep. I don't know about that. I don't know if that one's going to fly. All right, so I'd say Benoit Saint Denis. Let's put him up against who's climbing the rankings right now. Let's not put him up against another top 10 guy, all right? Let's put Benoit Saint Denis up against a little bit of a drop down in competition. Well, let's give him an Aljamain Sterling or something like that. Let's give him an Aljo fight, okay? Let's give him an Aljo fight. Pillow hands Aljo, all right? Let's take it easy on him. Let's get on to the next one. Nasruddin Imavov, Brendan Allen. Brendan Allen goes out there, takes him down first round. Looks like it's going to be a stink fest, but, at least I respect the fact that he's imposing his will. He's about to get his win money. And Nasruddin Imavov, second round, starts stuffing takedowns. Quick with the sprawl, starts getting things going on the feet. Eventually gets top position over Brendan Allen and starts beating the shit out of him. Nasruddin Imavov beating the shit out of Brendan Allen on the feet. On the ground. In full guard and half guard. When Brendan Allen is trying to work his way back up to his feet, he's on his knees. Nasruddin Imavov's posturing up, beating him up, while Brendan Allen's covering up, just all over him. Not as dominant as Renato Moicano was against Benoit Saint Denis, but not that far off. Like he was whooping him up, and just stole that second round, which is very good for Nasruddin Imavov. Goes to show that he was able to make an adjustment with the takedown defense, and also not losing confidence going into the second round. Third round, the announcers were saying, Brendan Allen's got to strike. Brendan Allen's got to strike. Nasruddin Imavov was outstriking him in the third. Brendan Allen, I don't understand what they were talking about. He needs to strike. He's going to win on the feet. Like, he was still getting outstruck on the feet. It's just that he was landing some big bombs. And Nasruddin Imavov was still out-grappling him. So for Nasruddin Imavov, someone that we think of as a predominant striker, even though he's had a couple of ground and pound finishes back in the day over Edmund Shabazian, even though he was taking Chris Curtis's back, we know he's a decent grappler. But for him to go out there against Brendan Allen, who's one of the best grapplers in this division, and not only out-grapple him, but beat the shit out of him with ground and pound, I think Nasruddin Imavov is one of the most well-rounded fighters in the UFC right now. Is he going to be champ? Again, that's a question a lot of people are going to ask. Dricus du Plessis is a nightmare for everybody. But Nasruddin Imavov, I've never seen this guy get hurt, and his gas tank is holding up. His offensive grappling is there. I don't think he's going to be a champ, but I'd say one more fight, and you got to give him a title fight. I know he called for one tonight. And the weird thing is with Nasruddin Imavov is, who does he even fight next? He had that, whatever you're going to call it, against Jared Cannonier, where there wasn't really a definitive outcome. I don't care if it says TKO on the stat sheet or whatever, but Adesanya, could you see Adesanya coming back to fight Nasruddin Imavov? That's not exactly a big name. That's not exactly something that I feel like Adesanya is going to come back for. If he comes back, it's going to be a money fight. Can you see Sean Strickland, of all people, who doesn't want to fight Robert Whittaker, who doesn't want to fight Khamzat Chimaev? Could you see Sean Strickland coming back for anything other than a title fight, let alone Nasruddin Imavov in a rematch, a guy that he already beat? Does Sean Strickland strike you as the type of guy to want to fight someone that he already beat right now? Or does Sean Strickland seem like the kind of fighter to want to wait for a title fight? That's probably not going to happen. Adesanya's too big of a name. Sean Strickland, he's not going to want to fight anyone other than whoever's champ, whoever's holding the belt. And to be fair, I actually think that that's a likely fight right now. I think they do Dricus du Plessis versus Sean Strickland. The winner of that fights the winner of Robert Whittaker and Khamzat Chimaev. Maybe Nasruddin Imavov is just held in reserve. But who else is he going to fight? It's an interesting thing to think about. Cal Baralho? I mean, yeah, fair enough. Cal Baralho beat Jared Cannonier, and Cannonier and Imavov had a really close fight, but I don't know. After a win over a guy like Brendan Allen, who had a lot of momentum, I don't know if that necessarily makes sense, and I don't know if Cal Baralho is a guy that should be in a number one contenders fight, but Nasruddin Imavov, I don't mind it. There's a little bit of a logjam in the middleweight division, but for Nasruddin Imavov, I'd say one more win against someone that's, a big name. I think you could possibly give him a number one contenders fight against one of those guys and then give him a title fight. Brendan Allen, still good, but got beat up. The jiu-jitsu wasn't holding up against the ground and pound. Still a solid fighter, but, bested by Nasruddin Imavov, who was just a little bit more well-rounded than him. William Gomez versus Joe Anderson Brito. William Gomez out-grappled Joe Anderson Brito in the first round. And a lot of people were saying this is a robbery. I agree. I think Joe Anderson Brito took the second. I think he took the third on damage. William Gomez was still able to get some control time in the later rounds. I think it was close. And listen, even if you think it was a robbery, listen, he's getting held down and out-grappled and ragdolled in the first round against William Gomez, which is not the best look. Yeah, he's going out there, he's slugging for the fences in the second round at the end of the first. There are moments where Joe Anderson Brito does the old Hulk smash, the Iron Kutalaba, and he goes forward slugging, slinging leather. You know, he'll explode out of a bad position every once in a while, you know, catch someone with a big clobbering punch, but I just don't know if I see Joe Anderson Brito as a guy that's going to be consistently winning moments. I think Joe Anderson Brito is going to win moments against a guy like Jack Shore, who is a flyweight that's, you know, moving up, trying to fight a lightweight. Kicks him once, and, you know, Jack Shore is going to fall over. But against these featherweights, I don't know if Joe Anderson Brito is next up. I think I still stand by saying Gene Silva is the real Joe Anderson Brito. I thought Joe Anderson Brito edged it out, but I do think it's closer than people are giving it credit for. I thought this was a really close fight. William Gomez was, you know, whipping Joe Anderson Brito with the body kick on the back foot, out grappling him in the first round, kind of dominating him in the grappling in the first. So there's that. But I do think Joe Anderson edged out the second and the third round. Both of these guys were pretty evenly matched, in my opinion. Now let's talk about this. Bryan Battle versus Kevin Jousset. I think that this was the best fight on the card. By far the best fight on the card. Maybe the best fight of the entire year. Of course, there's recency bias. We just watched this card, but this, in my opinion, was an absolute war. The commentators were not giving it the credit it deserved. I don't understand how Michael Bisping and the other commentators weren't freaking out while watching this. Every single moment in this fight, outside of maybe the first few minutes of the first round where Bryan Battle was clinching Kevin Jousset up against the fence and kneeing him to the thigh and it was slow. The end of the first round, the entirety of the second round was chaos. Absolute chaos the whole time. And I picked Bryan Battle to win this fight. I was tempted to pick Kevin Jousset because he's got the lighter man skill, and Bryan Battle used to fight at middleweight. He's a little bit slower, but I still picked Bryan Battle because I was thinking, you know what, lighter man skill, that works 90% of the time, but Bryan Battle, he's still pretty fast, he's still pretty rangy, and he's got that power, he's got the extra power, and he's got that dog in him. Bryan Battle has the mentality. This guy has like a 100% finish rate in the UFC. I don't think it's actually 100%, but he's finished, I think, 5 out of his 6 wins in the UFC. The only loss he has right now is to Renat Fakhretdinov, and every time Bryan Battle fights, he's looking for a finish. He's looking to knock people the fuck out. And Kevin Jousset was countering him with massive punches at the end of the first round, at the end of the second round. But Bryan Battle, even though he was losing some of those exchanges where he was getting countered with big shots where they seemed to be very damaging, he was not getting rocked that badly. I was rarely seeing Bryan Battle get rocked. He's got a chin on him. And he's willing to eat punishment, and he's just moving forward with reckless abandon, throwing tons of volume, sticking behind a jab, putting the 2 behind it consistently, and just nonstop putting tons of pressure, extremely aggressive. I think Bryan Battle, at this point, is a top, I'm going to say, 25 most entertaining fighter in the UFC. And I'm not just talking about what he's doing in the cage. I'm talking about the post-fight antics, the speech, walking out to the Kanye Jay-Z song. Bryan Battle's one of my favorite fighters right now. And Michael Bisping said it perfectly. Bryan Battle's like an American Charles Oliveira. He's like an angry, salty American Charles Oliveira. I don't think he's that salty, but, you know, he was a little bit salty in France, getting booed. But he's entertaining on the mic, all right? And this guy has an insanely entertaining fight style. He's like a heavy Max Holloway, the way he was fighting tonight. A heavy Max Holloway, taking tons of damage, but rolling with shots. What fight did it remind me of? It reminded me of Max Holloway and Brian Ortega a little bit. Kevin Jousset landing big counters like Ortega was landing huge counters on Holloway, but Holloway just staying on him, rolling with shots, landing, you know, punches and bunches. Bryan Battle was landing punches and bunches, 4-punch combinations, 5-punch combinations, straight punches, eventually just breaking Kevin Jousset. And that's what I predicted. I thought that, early on, I think Kevin Ducette's going to be able to get the better of Bryan Battle, but as this fight progresses, I think Bryan Battle is going to be able to get the better of him and TKO him. I'm actually not 100% sure if I picked Bryan Battle. I'm pretty sure I did. 99% sure I picked Bryan Battle, but it would be pretty crazy if I actually picked Kevin Ducette and I'm bragging about this pick. But I did pick Bryan Battle. I said he's going to heat up as the fight gets going. I said he's going to have the toughness advantage. Even though their records are similar, Bryan Battle's had more fights in the UFC. He's more battle-tested. He has more experience. And I just think that he's a grittier fighter. I think he's willing to bite down on the mouthpiece, move forward, sit behind tons of volume, and commit to all of his strikes. We saw him get the TKO. I say let's do Bryan Battle versus Ian Gary, or Bryan Battle versus Joaquin Buckley or some shit like that. If Buckley loses to Wonderboy, which probably won't happen, but let's give Bryan Battle a top 10 guy. Not Neil Magny. I don't want to see him go in there and then face a clinch fest. I want to see Bryan Battle against a striker. There's still some questions when it comes to the takedown defense. We saw what Renat Fakhretdinov did to him. So that's still a question that he needs to answer. One of the most entertaining fighters in the UFC right now. Morgan Chetier knocking out Gabriel Miranda second round. Gabriel Miranda turning his back to Morgan Chetier, who clipped him with a nasty hook. Drops him, finishes him. I picked Morgan Chetier to win this fight. Not a whole lot to talk about here other than Morgan Chetier is very good, very well-rounded. Great takedown defense. Really fast and powerful. I think it's time for another step up in competition. Now, this one was crazy. I was saying Twigman Frasiam, is he going to go out there and actually put some heat on his strikes? Is he actually going to go out there and commit to these punches, or is he going to go out there and, twig it out? Is he going to go out there and flick out the flimsy teep kicks and the flimsy jab, or is he going to go out there and is he going to take it to Matt Frevola? Matt Frevola took him down in the first round, the old Cerro Longo style, trying to replicate what Merab was doing to O'Malley, and it was working. But Matt Frevola's chin, another thing that I talked about, you guys, you probably know what I'm saying right now. Matt Frevola's chin, it fails him. But is it even, listen, I'm telling you, if that's a fighter with a good chin out there, if that's Max Holloway taking that knee, he's not going down. There's some fighters that are taking a knee from Frasiam. I'm not saying everyone takes a flush knee to the dome. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying from Frasiam. Some fighters that are going to take a flush knee to the dome from Twigman Ziyang. But Matt Frevola gets laid out in the second round. I think I looked away for like a second and I missed it. And I couldn't believe that Frasiam had Matt Frevola face down on the canvas. That was a nasty KO. One of the nastiest KOs I've ever seen. Plus the follow-up shots. Listen, I think they were obviously unnecessary, but, Frasiam's fighting. Adrenaline's high. You're not just going to all of a sudden snap out of it and walk away. I understand it, but those were some nasty follow-up shots. The mouthpiece came out after the knee. That was a nasty KO. One of the nastiest KOs I've seen this year. One of the nastiest KOs I've ever seen. Really good KO from Frasiam. I thought it was the best KO of the night. I really do think it was the best KO of the night. Outside of the... by the way, we got to talk about the stoppage. Forgot to talk about the stoppage with Bryan Battle and Kevin Ducette. I thought it was a good stoppage. That's an example of a good standing stoppage. Compare it to a standing stoppage of like Nasruddin Imavov versus Jared Cannonier. This was a great standing stoppage. Kevin Ducette was out of it probably like 5 punches before it ended. If you seem out of it on your feet a little bit and you've been getting rocked a couple of times in the round already and you're out of it, let's wait 5-6 more punches, then we're going to stop it even if you're standing. So that was a good stoppage. Omar Sy versus Dawn Young. I picked Omar Sy to win. He got it done. Close in the second round. Omar Sy kind of dominated the first, easily won the second too, but pretty good win. Second fight in the UFC. Didn't get the finish, but again, it is what it is. Only a second fight in the UFC. He got it done. Pretty good fight. This was a pretty good fight as well. Ion Cutelaba, I picked him to win against Ivan Urslan, and he got it done as well. So, yeah, I think I got most of these right. Let me tally them up. So I got that one wrong. This one right. This one, even though it was a robbery. I got that. I got basically every single one right, except for 3 fights. I got 3 fights wrong. So what is that? Like 10 right? Ludovic Klein beating Roosevelt Roberts. Beat him up in the first round. Roosevelt Roberts fell over himself in the second. And Ludovic Klein Showed us his grappling last time against, Thiago Moises, which we already knew was pretty decent, but out-grappled Roosevelt Roberts in the second round. Won the striking exchange. Is a little bit underwhelming, to be honest, on the feet. I thought it was going to be a little bit more dominant from Ludovic Klein, but, credit to Roosevelt Roberts. He actually looked all right on the feet. But Ludovic Klein wins. Maybe that's a fight. Ludovic Klein versus Benoit Saint Denis. That could be a good fight to make. Taylor Lapilus beat up Vince Morales. This guy has nasty Muay Thai as well. As I said, Taylor Lapilus is kind of like a more aggressive, more powerful, higher output version of William Gomez. A little bit more entertaining than William Gomez. Just put on a clinic against Vince Morales. Had the speed advantage, Muay Thai advantage. Good stuff for Taylor Lapilus as well. Eileen Perez, she got it done. I picked her to get it done. I picked Daniel Perez. I think I picked Jacqueline Calvacanti and Chris Duncan submitting Balagioki in the first round with a guillotine. I didn't think he was going to get it. It kind of surprised me that he even got that. But overall, this was an amazing card. That's one finish. Let's see. 2 finish, 3 finishes, 4 finishes, 5 finishes, 3 KOs in a row. That's pretty crazy. And then, listen, it was a doctor stoppage, but it wasn't. Come on, bro. That's like Brian Ortega getting stopped after the 4th round against Max Holloway if he had won the 4th. You understand? It's a little bit weird, all right? Or that's like Cowboy Cerrone winning the 2nd round against Tony Ferguson and, the fight ends after the 2nd round. It was a little bit strange, but listen, I do think Renato was on his way to winning that. He was still fresh. It's not like he was gassing out. One more takedown from Moicano and that fight's done. You know what I mean? Like 10 more jabs from Renato Moicano and Benoit Saint Denis probably can't even see, but you don't know 100%. That's why it's a little bit anticlimactic. You have to admit, even if you really were pulling for Renato Moicano, it's a little bit anticlimactic, just a tiny bit. But I think he proved that he was better nonetheless. I think he proved that he was better. Renato Moicano, dude, this guy, listen, before he came back to fight Drew Dober, I knew he was good. But at this point, we're talking about this guy like he's probably going to be able to get a title fight with one more win. Like Renato Moicano is having a serious resurgence and pretty crazy. 35 years old, was out of the cage for like a year and a half with a horrible injury, and he's just getting better. Like his performance against Jalen Turner, I guess it was a little bit better than his performance against Drew Dober, but he got dropped, right? And his performance here was even better than his performance against Jalen Turner. Even though he didn't really get the TKO, he still somehow, even though Jalen Turner got stopped on the ground and basically rolled over, Renato Moicano still looked better in the first round than he did against Jalen Turner in the second round. So amazing win for Renato Moicano. I wish it was a little bit more definitive, but it is what it is. And Benoit Saint Denis, he's taken a lot of damage, but 28 years old. I still think that this guy could get better. I still think, being an Aura merchant gives you a little bit of that edge. Gives you a little bit of an edge. Aura merchants, if they have a good first round, they're probably winning the fight. You know what I mean? If he had a good first round against Renato Moicano, he probably wins in the second. Aura merchants just can't afford to lose moments in the first. You know what I mean? They just can't afford to lose moments in the first. This guy beat up Dustin Poirier up against the fence in the first round, okay? That's all I got to say. He still has lots of potential, but it's very clear that he isn't going to be fighting for a belt anytime soon. It's clear that he's not top 5 or top 10 material right now. That's just for certain. Last time we could say, it was the staff. Didn't have any staff this time. Well, I don't think it's over for Benoit. I still think he might be able to come back. But Renato Moicano, one more fight, and I think you give him a title fight. And he's slowly becoming one of my favorite fighters as well. With the speeches that he's giving, this guy's the best post-fight speeches in the UFC right now. So overall, this was an amazing card. And yeah, Renato Moicano destroys Benoit Saint Denis. And that is that. Well, I mean, in the first round at least.